I'm now joined by the founder of One Truth 818. This is gorgeous Rachel from New Zealand. Welcome to Australia.
Thank you.
And welcome to the launch of your television launch. How exciting is this?
It really is. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for inviting me along so that I could be part of this ride with you.
Now, spending just an hour with you yesterday, I went home and I couldn't stop thinking about your knowledge and the way this has changed the entire world. There are no competitors out there for you really, and no one else is using TAM 818.
No, and if you sort of look into other products, they're all singing from the same song sheet. Mm-hmm. They're all saying the same thing. Well, One Truth actually comes and flips that on its head and actually uses science to explain the truth, hence the name, because there's a lot of misinformation out there and people really are clinging on to hope at the moment.
But first, to understand the technology and how it works, this is why I'm going back to where it starts.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you first, Rachel, what actually causes aging?
Yeah, and that's a really good place to start because that's where a lot of the misinformation in this industry comes from. So we're told that smoking causes aging, that UV causes aging, and that's all correct. It does. But what does aging look like on a biological level, on a cellular level, And it turns out that all comes down to one thing within the cell called a telomere. So your telomere is attached to your DNA. It's a long tail. And these were discovered in the 30s. So we have known about them for some time now. But the scientific world sort of thought of them as just that, like a tail on the end of the DNA. It wasn't until a few decades later that a researcher, Dr. Leonard Hayflick, started researching these tails and realised that every time a cell divides, this tail gets shorter. And when it gets to a certain length, quite short, that cell can't divide anymore. And that's when the cell goes into natural death, which we would call senescence. Now, what's really fascinating about this is if you remember back to high school science, which some of us can, is that cells are constantly dividing and that you've got one cell and it would divide into two, and they're never a 100% replica of what they were before. There's a little bit missing. It turns out that the little piece missing is the telomere. It takes the hit for the team, really. Because if you can imagine, if every time our cells divided, if the DNA took the hit, if you lost a piece of your DNA every time that cell divided, and the human race wouldn't even be here anymore.
Right.
So your telomere is there to protect your DNA. So that all sounds amazing, like good on it, fantastic. But the fact that it has an ability to stop, it's finite, is what's really critical to understand. Because once it gets down there, that cell goes into, like I said, senescence, which is kind of cutely called a zombie cell sometimes. And then that cell can't function as a normal cell anymore. So that's it, it's gone.
That just happened naturally with the aging process without everything else, all the environmental stresses and everything.
Correct, yeah. So that is the aging process. Look, if you don't like your life, smoke, eat terrible food, don't get any exercise, be obese, and you can speed up that process if you want to. So lifestyle choices will slow down that process, but you can't stop that process.
So taking you back to cell division then basically is aging us.
Correct, yep.
Now, what about other products? If we open a magazine, and I've done it, look through, there's these adverts, they're all saying the same thing, but you're saying a lot of those products could actually be aging us faster. How?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the sales pitches that I hear nowadays are increase your cell turnover, bring fresher cells to the surface faster. And again, it sounds really good. And we want to believe that because we think, oh, I will look younger and I'll look amazing. But cell division is aging. So do you really want to increase the speed of which that's happening just for a slight short-term gain? And that's basically the biggest piece of misinformation that we're being given from the skincare industry nowadays.
But you're not saying stop our pills or stop our needling or, our microderming or whatever. Just you need the One Truth to almost like a balance, a safeguard.
Yeah, correct. So look, I'm not going to lie to you. I love the way that my skin feels. If I have a skin peel or, I have a micro needling every couple of months, because we do have that need and that desire to still want to present well and want to look good. So we love those sort of shorter term benefit things like that. But to me, it just means that One Truth is your insurance policy to absolutely balance that out. So I just need you to be aware that some of the things that you might be doing to your skin or using on your skin could be accelerating aging. So please pop something into your regime which is going to undo that, but let you keep getting the benefits that you're loving from those.
What we hear is, if we hear products saying cell turnover, we don't necessarily want that, because if our cells turn over too often, when that gets to that point, they die off and you can't do anything anymore.
No.
So what we're trying to do is stop the cells turning over so fast, or stop them in their tracks, or assist them when they get to that point. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So the longer we can keep a cell alive, and it kind of sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but the longer you can keep a cell alive, the better. And so in my mind, that's through nourishing it. So antioxidants and vitamins, and it's not by basically stripping off this face to bring a new face.
Right.